Okay, for this isometric drawing, you need to go back and open up your dimensioned bracket drawing. And we're gonna actually draw our ISO view up here and then move it. But we're gonna end up having to move our orthographic views around a little bit, because when we look at paper space, there's not enough room to get it in here. Hopefully this will not mess up our our dimensions. So because our dimensions should be associative. Let's let's go ahead and move it anyway. So from here I'm gonna go into model space, and I'm going to do a window to pick all of that stuff. We'll see. Move. Pick this bottom corner, and I'm going to move it down over this way a bit and go back to paper space. Okay, so all my dimensions moved with it. So that's fantastic. Okay. So let's go back to model space here, and we're actually going to draw up in this area and then move it down here. So let's go into our ISO draft mode and go into ortho, and let's go to our construction layer. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, we can work with that, but we'll be working over here. Okay. The T connector did not lend itself well to creating an isometric box or a cube. This drawing does. And this is kind of a throwback to when we would draw things by hand on paper. And even with CAD, I find it very helpful to create this isometric cube. So what we'll do is we'll start our line command, and I'm going to draw the overall extents of our drawing. And so I'm going to come up this way 6 inches. Need to change my come forward 3 inches. 6 inches down, and then a close. And then let's draw, let's change to get a vertical, and so we'll go a line. We'll go from here. We're going to go up 3.25. Enter. And then I'm going to pick that and copy it up to there. And we'll go ahead and take this line and copy it to all 4 corners. And so now we have a cube that our whole object will fit inside of. And often this is a very helpful way to be able to visualize things. So let's go back to our visible layer, and we'll draw the very bottom edge line so that we can see what we're developing here. So I'm going to change that orientation and go line. I'm going to go from here to there, from there to there, on the bottom, and to the bottom there. Okay. And now then we could go ahead and apply an ISO fillet there in the bottom edge. Might be easier to do that at the top and then copy that down. Yeah, we'll do that at the top and then copy down. So let's flip to a vertical line and put this in at 0.75. Okay. And let's go ahead and copy these 3 up. to there. Okay, that's got that kind of stuff. That's looking good. And so let's go back to our construction layer. Copy, I think, is better. Well, moving to construction layer didn't work. So I'm going to copy that over 0.75. And I'm going to do the same thing from this end, coming back. Which put it right on top of that other line. Okay, and then let's take the front here and go back 0.75 with it. And so let's take those three lines and put them on our construction layer. Okay. Now then, the depth of our slot is 0.75 also. So let's take this one and copy it another 0.75 back. Okay, so now let's go back to our visible layer, and let's do our outside ISO circles. So we'll go ellipse, ISO circle. I need to change my plane. There we go. And let's make sure we get a center point there. And it's going to be to here. And so let's copy that one down to here. And then we can trim. I'm going to hold off on trimming that. We'll go ahead and trim the inside of this one. Okay. And so let's take those two ISO ellipses and let's copy them. There's a base point, and we'll copy them down. And then we can trim out the rest of, yeah, we don't need a line there, so we can trim that. We do need a vertical line here, though. And then we can trim that part there out. Okay, so that's got that front edge done. Instead of working on the slots, I want to work on this back part back here. And so instead of trying to figure out how to draw that into the place, I'm just going to draw me a line that is 0.6 long. Okay, and because this thing is symmetrical left to right, I can copy this using the midpoint and copy it to the midpoint of this line. And because we know the width of that, thickness of that is 0.75, I can draw a line of 0.75, 0.6, and back to there, 0.75. And so that's got the top edge of that little flat part up there. Okay, the front rib, actually probably the easiest way, let's see, would be to draw a construction line down the middle and then copy that thing over. So let's turn off ortho mode. and go line, and we'll go from the midpoint there to the midpoint here. And then let's move this one to one corner, and then copy it back to the other corner. That was the easiest way to do that. All right, now then, the other two, we've got a dimension of 1.2 over and 0.25 down. So we'll let's go to a construction layer, turn our ortho mode back on, and we'll start our line command from here, come to the left, 1.2, enter, and then I need to change my snap so I get a vertical line, and then come down 0.25. Okay, and now let's do the same thing going back to the right. So I'm going to go line and start here, come over 1.2, and come down 0.25. So that's got the endpoints of those two parts. So let's go back to visible, turn off ortho mode, and go line. From there, we'll come to here, and then that comes down to this point. Now let's do the same thing on the right side. Okay. That's got the rear of my top surface. And so let's see, I can copy that to that point and to that point. Okay. And then I could copy these lines from the back. I'm going to go to copy and choose that as my base point and bring them forward. And so that got the front edge completed. Okay, that's looking good. And I know the construction lines are getting a little bit confusing. Let's see, do we need that one? Don't think we need. I don't think we need that one anymore. But let's hold off on it for right now. Okay, and so let's draw a line to get this intersection, and we're just going to draw it all the way across, and we'll trim it out as we need to. And so let's turn our ortho mode back on, and we'll draw this line from here back. Oops, change my plane. I'm going to draw it a little bit long so I'm not getting an object snap there. And then we'll draw a vertical line, which would come to there. And now I can trim those out. I've got that. Let's turn construction layer off so we can see what we need to trim. Okay, so we can trim that out. We can trim this right here. Trim that, trim that, trim that. Okay, don't need that anymore, so I can delete that. All right, so there's got the outline of our object. Let's bring our construction layer back up so we can draw the slots. So we'll draw two iso ellipses and then connect them with lines. ISO, change my plane. And these are let's see, a radius 0.375. Okay, and so let's copy that one forward to here. And now we'll try drawing some lines since we got some lines to snap to there. and then a trim. Okay, so that's looking good. So let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and copy that to the right, choosing that radius point right there. Okay, all right. So that, oh, we got the holes on the top up here, and let's see. So that's 1.9 over, 1.25 up. So we could, this, okay, well, we'll go to construction. So let's, well, that won't matter because if we're having a copy. I mean, these lines are on top of each other. They're in the same location, but let's take the red one, copy, choose that as my base point, change my plane so I can get a vertical, and bring that up 1.25. And I'll do the same thing over here. Doesn't matter your base point, we're just going to go up 1.25. And just so we don't get confused, let's go ahead and make those on the construction layer. And then I need a vertical line here to copy over. So I'll pick that one and just draw me a line, and then copy it 1.95. And then that gives me the location to draw my ISO circle there. And so we'll go ahead and repeat that process over here on this end. Bring it back to the inside 1.95. Okay, so that made it right here. So I'll need to extend this line on over. And we'll go extend and just select that and bring it over. Okay, so now we can go to visible layer and choose our ISO ellipse. Draw one there, and it is a diameter 0.625. All right, and we can copy that over to there. Okay, all right, so that's got all of our all of our visible stuff drawn. We've got some trimming out to do. We'll go ahead and trim that out. And now we got center lines and center marks to draw in. So I'm just looking at this. We'll go ahead and go to our center layer, and I'm just going to draw these on top of my construction lines, the same size, and then we'll lengthen as we need. Let's see, that is change my thing, 0.375, so double that, that'll be 0.75. Okay, now this one down here, so we'll go line, we'll go from here to the midpoint, which is 0.75. So that means the total width of it is going to be 1.5. Okay. And it will do the same thing from here, coming back. We'll make it 1.5. And that may seem a little strange, but remember we're going to lengthen these and then set our viewport scale. We've got those done. Once we get those set right, we can copy them to the other views. So now we'll go into our lengthen command, DE, and let's say a distance of 0.25. And we'll extend those out. Let's come down and do these three here and pick I can't tell which one that's going. We'll go ahead and pick that one and see how it works. And then we'll extend this one out and that one out. Okay, so let's turn off our construction layer so we can see a little bit better. Okay, so that one did not lengthen. So I'm gonna move this one temporarily over to here, and now we'll lengthen this one, and now we can move this one back. There. And this is going to be kind of weird. So let's I think we were using 0.6 on that. Yeah. Okay. But you can see we've got two lines on top of each other. So let's try our, well, let's go ahead and set our property on this one. .6 won't work, so we'll go with 0.5. There we go. All right, so let's try our broomstick cleanup. Well, it didn't work, so let's still didn't work. Okay, so in order to make this one look right, what we'll do is we'll trim both of these back like so. Delete that out. And let's see, this trying to think of the easy way to get this to work. Yeah. let's just delete both of those. And we've got the length ones done. So let's draw a line, 0.125, because that should be the length of our dash. Each one's going to be a little bit different. So let's copy that. That gets us our plus in the middle. And then I'm going to pull back a little bit and draw that out visually to make it look right. Do the same thing here at the front. And kind of do the same thing here in the middle. So sometimes you're having to play with your center lines to make them look right. And so now then let's select, we'll copy these over. And so now we got to make sure and select all of these lines. And let's be sure we get that center for the circle, the ellipse. There we go. All right, so now we'll trim these center marks up here, which means it's going to mess up that. So we'll end up doing the same thing up here. I'm going to drag those out, and so now let's draw a line, 0.125, draw a vertical one, and then copy, or move, sorry. And then I can grab the ends of these and kind of drag them down a little bit to get me a pattern. And I'll have to draw one coming down. Okay, that looks good there. And we are not going to apply dimensions to it because we very rarely dimension an isometric drawing. But that's looking good. So let's go back to our paper space layout. And we see we need to move it into this area. So we'll go to model space, and I'll show you a little trick here. We're going to group this. Once you've got it, everything together like you like it, select it all, right click, and let's go group, and it will group it all together so that you only have to click one thing to select it, and then you can move it. So it makes it a lot easier to deal with. So we'll grab the handle, kind of drag it down. We turn off ortho mode. We can kind of get it in here, and so we'll place it now. And let's go to our paper space and take a look at it. Okay, so it needs to kind of move up and to the right a little bit. So we'll activate model space, select our ISO mode, and kind of move it up to there. That looks good. And we'll turn off that model space layer. Okay. And so that's got it centered up. Maybe go up just a little bit more. Okay, that's looking good. So you kind of have to move your stuff around a little bit, get it moved in. And since now we're here in paper space, we look at our center lines and center marks, make sure that they're looking like center marks, of course. Okay, and then update your date here. And the drawing number, this is now, what is it? I gotta look at my book to see what it is. It is now 7.3. So drawing number 7.3. And then save it. I saved it before I started with a new name, so we'll save it again. And there you go. So, lots of fun with isometrics. So, got problems, you got to reach out to us and we'll get with you to help you out. Or come to the lab, the tutors can help you there also.